right here, Kobe driving on Steph, Euro step into the meter dunk. Let's slow it down so you could see the meter. When he's between me and the hoop, it starts small, then it even shrinks a little, but then once I Euro step past him, it expands into a really big meter. But let's continue with dunking. Again, it felt like size mattered, like height matters in terms of finishing, and it's been like that for years. But like somebody like Giannis, for example, here's a play now clip with Giannis. He's an absolute monster. Now, obviously, it's Giannis, like his stats are cracked, and he's 6'11" and all that. But he like height. It was definitely easier to dunk with like bigger slashers than smaller slashers. That's not to say smaller slashers couldn't dunk. But just, you know, I'm just comparing it to past 2Ks where definitely height mattered in terms of your green window on dunk meters. It's like that again. It's definitely bigger dunkers are going to be harder to stop than smaller dunkers. But let's continue. Something else I noticed with finishing in general, but since we're talking about dunking, I'll relate it to dunking. In past years, I felt like interior, it mattered, but it definitely wasn't like a necessity. A lot of power forwards or centers were going, you know, low interior, and like as long as you just got between the guy and the hoop, you know, you could stop them very consistently. Even small guards like in Pro-Am and stuff, they would swing down out of the corner and stop the other team's center and shrink his dunk meter, even though, you know, it's a 6'4" guard with 25 interior and a 50 block, and the center's driving with, you know, really good finishing ratings. And it was just like, if you got there, you got there, and it didn't really matter the ratings. On this game, it felt way different trying to dunk on Wembanyama or Dennis Rodman or somebody with like really good interior as opposed to like dunking on Steph Curry. Like it almost felt like, maybe because of that new wall-up badge, they're really trying to make like the interior rating matter because they want people to use that wall-up badge. I'm not really sure, but typically dunk meter size was more about angles than it was about ratings. But in this game, it definitely felt like the ratings were playing a bigger factor. And maybe that was because I was playing against the AI, and full transparency, I don't play against the AI very often. I pretty much do it once a year, and that's at Community Day. But we'll have to see when it's person on person. But for the most part, from what I felt playing the game, the Community Day version of the game, it felt like interior definitely had a big impact on how easy it was to finish on somebody or how difficult it was to finish on somebody. To go along with the other factors, of course, you know, momentum, angle, positioning. And it's not to say it's impossible to stop somebody going to the basket. I mean, this is Tyrese Maxey stopping Michael Jordan going to the basket. And, you know, Tyrese is, 6'1" and low interior, low block. So it's not impossible. Obviously, your skill and the way that you play it and the angle you take and all, and their timing of the jump and all that still matters. But another thing I noticed with dunking, if somebody was just like in the restricted area and you were going downhill full speed at them, like you would put them in a poster and it would be greenable. I feel like in past years, like unless they were way under the hoop, like you'd get a decent window if they were way under the hoop. But if they were just like in the restricted area, a lot of times you would drive and like it would shrink your meter down all the way. When like in real life, it's like if they're standing under there and you have a full head of steam, you know, you got Michael Jordan running at you full head of steam, like you're in trouble. You know what I mean? A lot of dudes in real life would just bail out of there and just, you know what I mean? I'm not getting put on a poster. But in 2K, it was like your meter would shrink a lot of the times. It was definitely a noticeable difference in terms of if they're just down there in the dead zone, you could just go up and boom on them. But again, like if Wemby was down in that dead zone, it felt like it would shrink. So I don't know. Maybe that's just because Wemby's 7'4". Maybe it's the interior rating. There's a lot of unknowns. But overall, the dynamic dunk meter definitely worked. It was shrinking. It was expanding. It was shrinking back down. It was overall dunking, in my opinion, it felt really good. Like